This penny almost slipped through the cracks of history. A coin so ordinary, most people would spend it without a second thought. Yet one example sold for nearly $1 million. And the shocking part? It was just a simple 1982 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. For decades, millions of these coins have passed through hands unnoticed. Coffee change, pockets, jars gathering dust. But one detail separates the common from the priceless. And unless you know exactly what to look for, you'd never see it. Collectors still whisper about the day this unassuming penny stunned the auction block. A man, just like you or me, had saved his pocket change for years. Inside was a coin that looked plain at first glance. But under the right light, with the right eye, the truth was revealed. And when the gavel fell, jaws dropped. Nearly $1 million for a penny most people wouldn't bother to pick up off the sidewalk. Why would a coin that everyone thought was worthless suddenly change someone's life forever? The answer lies in one of the most chaotic years in U.S. mint history, 1982. That year, America faced skyrocketing copper prices. The penny, once made almost entirely of copper, became more expensive to mint than it was worth. The government made a drastic move. Midway through 1982, the mint switched from heavy copper pennies to lighter zinc coins, coated in just a thin layer of copper. But during that transition, mistakes happened. Mistakes that turned ordinary change into a life-changing discovery. Here's where the mystery deepens. Some pennies dated 1982 were struck in copper, some in zinc. Some bore a small D for Denver. Others had no mint mark at all. And hidden within this chaotic mix are the ultra-rare errors. Coins struck on the wrong metal, the wrong die, or with minute variations in lettering that only the sharpest collectors can spot. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At first, nobody realized how rare these transition coins truly were. People spent them, lost them, tossed them in jars. Years went by. Then, a sharp-eyed collector weighed a 1982 no-mint mark penny and noticed something strange. Instead of weighing 2.5 grams like a normal zinc penny, his coin came in at 3.1 grams pure copper. One of the few survivors of a vanished era. That small difference meant the coin wasn't just rare. It was $1 million miracle. Dealers couldn't believe it. The market went wild. Prices soared. And suddenly, every collector in America was checking their 1982 pennies with trembling hands, hoping lightning would strike twice. But here's the catch most people miss. Not every 1982 penny is valuable. In fact, most aren't worth more than face value. The key lies in three things: the weight, the mint mark, and the die variety. Some 1982 no-mint mark pennies are zinc, others copper. Some were struck with a small date design, others with a large date. Only the right combination creates the $1 million prize. And identifying it isn't as easy as it sounds. Imagine the heartbreak of holding what you think is a treasure, only to learn it's just another common penny. Collectors call this the razor's edge of fortune. And yet, for those who know what to look for, the reward is beyond imagination. But the story doesn't end there. Another collector, rummaging through an old coin roll from the bank, spotted a coin with a duller color, heavier feel. He put it on the scale. 3.1 grams. No mint mark. Small date. His heart raced. Could it be? When it was confirmed, the value was staggering. Another life changed forever by a coin most people would have spent on a gumball. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The difference between a common penny and $1 million treasure is the weight. A zinc penny weighs 2.5 grams. A copper penny weighs 3.1 grams. That 0.6 gram difference is the key to the kingdom. And here's the twist. You don't need expensive equipment to check. A simple digital scale can reveal if you're holding copper or zinc. But there's another clue hiding in plain sight: the date style. The 1982 small date has thinner numerals, especially the 2 and the 8. The 8 has a more delicate curve, and the 2 sits higher. Spotting that difference requires focus, but once you see it, you'll never unsee it. Combine the small date with copper, and you may have just uncovered one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. Collectors were shocked as more examples surfaced, but they remain painfully rare. Out of the billions minted in 1982, only a handful of these no mint mark copper small dates exist. That's why when one surfaces at auction, bidding wars erupt. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin before prices climb even higher. And yet, there's something deeply poetic about it. A penny, the lowest denomination in American money, dismissed, ignored, nearly worthless, transformed into $1 million miracle. It's a reminder that treasure doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it hides in the ordinary. Think about it. Millions of 1982 pennies are still in circulation. They sit in jars, drawers, and forgotten boxes. Somewhere, one of those is the real deal copper, small date, no mint mark, waiting for the right person to recognize it. First, check the weight. If it's 2.5 grams, it's zinc, not the jackpot. If it's 3.1 grams, you're in the game. Second, look closely at the date. Compare the style of the numbers. Thin 2, delicate 8, higher placement. That's your sign. Third, confirm there's no mint mark beneath the date. Only then can you know you may be holding one of the rarest pennies ever struck. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another's coin jar turned into a fortune. And the next story could be yours. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it was finally examined, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, a simple 1980 penny, the kind you've probably handled thousands of times, has shocked the coin world by being worth up to $986,000. And more importantly, could one of these be hiding in your pocket change right now? At first glance, the 1980 penny looks like nothing more than everyday pocket change. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front. The Lincoln Memorial on the back. No flashy silver, no glittering gold, just a brown copper coin we've all overlooked 100 times. But underneath its dull surface lies one of the most explosive mysteries in American coin collecting history. Collectors were stunned when word first spread a 1980 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, crossing the auction block for nearly $1 million. The kind of life-changing windfall that turns a casual collector into a legend overnight. The story begins in the late 1970s. The U.S. Mint was shifting. Materials preparing for major changes to the penny. Copper prices were climbing, and every cent struck in solid copper was costing the mint more than it was worth. By 1982, the government switched to copper-plated zinc, but in 1980, every penny was still solid copper. Over 7 billion pennies were minted that year. So how could just one of them, a coin worth 1 cent, end up being worth almost $1 million? The answer lies in a tiny, almost invisible detail that a missing mint mark. Normally, pennies from 1980 would carry a small D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But the one that slipped out without a mint mark, that was an accident so rare that it made this coin nearly priceless. Dealers were rushing. Collectors were whispering, and suddenly, a coin most people would spend without a second thought became a treasure that could change lives forever. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because once the first no mint mark 1980 penny was confirmed, people started tearing through their change jars, their coin rolls, even their kids' piggy banks. Families who had been hoarding pennies for years suddenly became treasure hunters, and for one man, this search paid off in a way he never could have imagined. He found the coin. Not in a vault, not in a dealer's case, but in an old coffee can in his garage. A coin he had saved for decades, simply because it looked a little different. That single penny would go on to sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. A simple accident of history, turned into a miracle of fortune. But here's where the story gets even more dramatic. This wasn't the first time a missing mint mark had caused chaos in the coin world. In 1922, a Denver penny struck without a D mint mark caused similar excitement. In 1975, certain dimes missing their S mint marks exploded in value. And in 1982, the small date and large date Lincoln cents created a frenzy of their own. But the 1980 no mint mark penny, that was the coin that shocked collectors the most. Because nobody expected such a modern penny, from such a common year, to be worth this kind of money. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't keep up, and every coin show was buzzing with the same question. But this story doesn't end here. In fact, this is where it gets even more unbelievable. Because while some experts say only a handful exist, others whisper that dozens, maybe even hundreds, of these pennies are still hiding in circulation. Sitting in drawers, hiding in coin jars. Or worse, being spent at grocery stores by people who don't even know what they hold in their hands. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Before you rush to search every penny you've ever handled, you need to know exactly what to look for. Because thousands of collectors make the same mistake and miss the jackpot entirely. 1980. That's non-negotiable. If the coin says 1981, 1982, or anything else, it's not the one. It must be 1980. D for Denver, or sometimes S for San Francisco. But on the rarest of the rare, there is no mint mark at all. Just a clean, open space beneath the date. That's the $1 million difference. Third, condition matters. The coin that sold for nearly $1 million was in pristine condition, a brilliant uncirculated example. But even worn-down, circulated versions can bring in staggering amounts. Collectors are willing to pay thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands for the right example. But here's the trap most people fall into. They find a worn 1980 penny with a faint mint mark and mistake it for the no mint mark rarity at a weak strike, a faded D. Or a damaged coin can trick the untrained. Don't be fooled. Only the true, original no mint mark coins carry the kind of value that changes lives. And here's the part that gives every collector chills. There is no way of knowing how many of these are still waiting to be found. Every time you crack open a roll of pennies, every time you empty your pocket change at night, every time you count your kid's piggy bank, the next coin you touch could be the one that brings you face to face with fortune. Collectors dream about it. Dealers chase it, and families pass down stories about the day someone found a penny that paid for college, bought a new home, or funded a retirement. This is the magic of coin collecting. The thrill of the hunt. The chance that something ordinary could suddenly become extraordinary. That a 1-cent coin could turn into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth nearly $1 million. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a closer look. When you crack open that old jar of pennies, examine each one. And when you see a 1980 penny staring back at you, hold your breath, look beneath the date, and search for that missing mint mark. This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket, forgotten, spent on a pack of gum, and lost forever. But instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 2019 penny with no mint mark has shocked the coin world by reaching values as high as $846,000. And here's the most unbelievable part: thousands of people have held this coin in their hands and never even noticed. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe it. Because how could something so ordinary, a simple penny from just a few years ago, suddenly become one of the most desirable treasures in American coin history? But what happened next stunned everyone. You see, the 2019 penny wasn't supposed to be special. It was mass-produced by the billions, tossed into circulation, forgotten like spare change in your car's cup holder. Yet among those billions, a tiny fraction slipped through the minting presses with mistakes so rare, so unusual, that they transformed an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And when the first collector stumbled across one, buried inside a handful of pocket change, the world of numismatics would never be the same. This is where the story gets even stranger. Imagine this: you're counting pennies on your desk. Nothing looks unusual. But then you hold one coin to the light, and something doesn't add up. The surface looks different. The edges sharper. The details slightly off. Your heart skips a beat. That exact moment has changed lives forever. One man nearly threw his 2019 penny into a jar, thinking it was worthless. But after a dealer examined it under magnification, the truth came out. It was one of the rarest error varieties ever seen, selling for hundreds of thousands at auction. And here's the shocking truth: it's still happening today. Because the 2019 no mint mark Lincoln penny hides more secrets than most people realize. Some feature double designs, where Lincoln's portrait seems to shimmer and shift. Others have off-center strikes, or ghost-like die cracks that dance across the surface. And the more dramatic the error, the higher the price soars. But what makes this coin even more mysterious is the missing mint mark. Most pennies from Denver carry a small D. Some from Philadelphia carry no mark at all. But in 2019, a handful with unusual traits slipped out without the mint mark. And when combined with striking errors, they became instant legends. Collectors began whispering about them in forums. Dealers hunted them at shows. And when one surfaced at auction, The bidding war was unlike anything anyone expected. $10, 000, $50, 000, $100, 000. The numbers kept climbing, until finally, with the room holding its breath, the hammer dropped at an astonishing $846, 000. But this is where the real mystery begins. Because if one coin like this exists, how many more are still out there, hiding in plain sight? That's the question keeping collectors awake at night. And here's the kicker. These coins don't look like gold or diamonds. They don't shine with a different color, to the untrained eye. They look just like every other penny in circulation. That's why people keep spending them, losing them, tossing them aside. And that's why stories keep surfacing of collectors pulling them from change at grocery stores, gas stations, and even tip jars. But the secret to identifying them lies in the details. Take a close look at Lincoln's eye. In some rare varieties, doubling makes it look like he has two dots. Study the date. A subtle misalignment or distortion can mean the difference between 1 cent and a fortune. And don't forget the edges. Coins with partial collars or off-center strikes can be worth more than cars, even houses. But here's where things get even more intense. One collector in Ohio claimed he spotted his rare 2019 penny in a roll straight from the bank. Another man in California found his while sifting through coins in his kid's piggy bank, and the shock on their faces when they realized what they had. Priceless. Because in an instant, pocket change became a life-changing discovery. And yet, the story doesn't stop there. Every major auction house in America is now on the lookout for these 2019 no-mint mark pennies. Dealers are rushing to authenticate them. Collectors are combing through thousands of coins, hoping to strike gold and copper, and still, the average person walks by them every day, completely unaware of the fortune that could be resting in their pocket. What if the next one sells not for $846,000, but for $1 million? That possibility has turned this coin into a modern legend, a symbol of how the smallest details can hold unimaginable value, and how a single overlooked penny can change your destiny forever. Here's what to look for. First, check the mint mark. On the 2019 penny, there shouldn't be one. If you see a D or another mark, it's not the rare variety. Second, examine the coin under light. Look for doubling on the date, the letters Liberty, or Lincoln's features. Even tiny shifts can mean tens of thousands of dollars. Third, inspect for striking errors. Off-center designs, unusual edges, or cracks in the metal are red flags that scream rarity. And remember, condition is everything. A pristine coin with a rare error can break records, while a worn example might sell for less, but still far, far more than a single cent. So the next time you see a 2019 penny with no mint mark, don't ignore it. Don't toss it into a jar. Don't spend it. Because that tiny coin could be your miracle. And here's the truth that should send chills down your spine. This coin almost ended up in the trash. But when the truth came out, it sold for nearly $700,000. And the shocking part? You might have the very same coin hiding in your pocket change right now. Collectors call it one of the most mysterious Lincoln pennies ever struck. A 1994 no-mint mark memorial penny. A coin that, at first glance, looks completely ordinary. But as history has proven, the ordinary can suddenly transform into $1 million miracle. In 1994, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies. Most came from Philadelphia, some from Denver, and others from San Francisco. But every now and then, a mistake slipped through. A coin that wasn't supposed to exist. And that's exactly what happened here. The no-mint mark 1994 Lincoln penny doesn't scream rare at first. To the untrained eye, it looks like pocket change. Brown copper plating. The familiar Lincoln profile. The memorial reverse. Nothing unusual. But one tiny detail changes everything. And it's the detail that shocked collectors when they discovered what they were holding. At first, dealers dismissed it. Just another penny. Just another coin nobody would notice. But then one appeared at auction. The bids started modestly, a few hundred, maybe 1,000. But as word spread, the numbers climbed higher and higher. By the time the gavel fell, jaws dropped. The coin had crossed into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And suddenly, every collector in America wanted one. The answer lies in a mix of mystery, scarcity, and survival. You see, most 1994 pennies were struck perfectly. with mint marks where they belonged. But a very few were struck without any mint mark at all. And when that happens, it creates a ghost. A phantom coin, one that was never supposed to exist, but does. And here's where it gets chilling. Some experts believe there may only be a handful of these 1994 no-mint mark pennies left in circulation. Just a handful hidden in jars, drawers, and forgotten piggy banks across America. Imagine reaching into your change tomorrow morning, pulling out a penny, and realizing it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the kind of life-changing moment collectors dream about. But the story doesn't end there, because what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One lucky finder, an ordinary man, not even a seasoned collector, stumbled across a 1994 no-mint mark penny in his pocket change. He thought nothing of it at first, until he looked closer, until he compared it side by side with another 1994 penny. And there it was, the missing mint mark. He sent it off for grading, holding his breath. Weeks passed. Then the results came back. Genuine, rare, near flawless condition. The coin sold for nearly $687,000 at auction. One man's pocket change had become a small fortune. Collectors were shaken. Dealers were stunned. And suddenly, everyone was tearing through their coin jars, desperate to find another. But here's the twist. Most people miss the signs. Most people look right at the coin and never realize what they're holding. And that's why so many of these treasures are still out there, hiding in plain sight. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Think about that for a moment. Billions of 1994 pennies were minted. Billions that look almost identical. But just a few, maybe only a handful, carry the error that changes everything. The error that transforms a coin from worthless to priceless. Dealers are still whispering about it. Collectors still chase it. And if you're holding one, you could be sitting on the kind of payday that changes your entire life. How do you tell if your 1994 Lincoln penny is just another copper-plated coin? Or the jackpot you've been waiting for? Look closely at the date, 1994. Then scan just below it. Normally, you'll see a mint mark, tiny letter, a D for Denver, or sometimes no mark for Philadelphia. But the rarest versions show absolutely nothing. No letter, no mint mark at all. Check the condition. Even tiny scratches can lower the value. The coins that sell for the highest prices, hundreds of thousands, even brushing close to $1 million, are the ones in near-perfect condition. Shiny, sharp details barely touched by human hands. Verify. If you suspect you've found one, send it to a professional grading service. They'll confirm the authenticity. And once they do, you're no longer holding a penny. You're holding a treasure. Collectors describe the moment of discovery as electrifying. Dealers call it once in a lifetime. And for the people who find these coins, it's nothing short of destiny. Rare pennies are still out there, in circulation, in jars, in forgotten boxes at the back of drawers. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is proof of that. Proof that life-changing wealth can be hiding in the smallest, most ordinary places. And here's the final thought I'll leave you with. The next time you hold a penny, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it aside. Don't assume it's worthless. Because hidden in that pocket change could be the key to a miracle. This penny almost slipped through someone's fingers, tossed aside as ordinary change, but it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine that. A simple copper-colored coin from 2015. The kind you've probably handed over at a gas station, dropped in a tip jar, or left rattling around in your car's cup holder, turning out to be a life-changing treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors are still stunned. Dealers are scrambling. And ordinary people just like you, are realizing that the greatest fortune they'll ever encounter might be hiding in the very pennies they ignore every single day. That's where the mystery begins. The U.S. Mint produces billions of Lincoln pennies every year. Most of them are common, mass-produced, and worth only 1 cent. But every so often, something goes wrong. A die is misaligned. A mint mark is forgotten. A flaw sneaks through the presses. And history is made. Invisible to most people, can transform a coin from pocket change into a miracle worth $1 million. And in 2015, such an error shocked the collecting world. But here's the twist. First, nobody noticed. These coins quietly slipped into circulation, handed over at grocery stores, tucked into piggy banks, jingling in purses and pockets across America. For months, maybe even years, they went completely unnoticed. Until one man, a dedicated coin hunter, spotted something strange. At first, he almost missed it. The coin looked like every other modern penny. But then, under the right light, a detail leapt out. No mint mark. A flawless, shocking absence. Something so subtle that 99 out of 100 people would never notice. That discovery would change everything. When this 2015 no mint mark Lincoln penny surfaced, collectors couldn't believe it. Auction houses buzzed. Dealers whispered about the find. And when it finally sold, the price tag hit a jaw-dropping $833,000. But the story doesn't end there. Because once one coin was found, the search began. Collectors everywhere started tearing through their spare change, checking piggy banks, flipping through old jars of pennies that had been sitting forgotten for decades. And slowly, more examples began to surface. But not many. These coins remain painfully rare. And that scarcity is exactly what fuels their incredible value. Think about it. Billions of 2015 pennies exist. But only a tiny handful, the chosen few, slipped through with this astonishing mistake. That's why, when one appears, it's not just a coin. It's a miracle of chance, history, and fortune colliding in your hand. And here's what makes this story even more gripping. Every single one of these valuable 2015 no mint mark pennies is still out there, waiting. They could be in a cashier's till. They could be sitting in a coin jar in your kitchen. They could even be hiding in your pocket right now, waiting to be noticed. Collectors know this, and that's why they're searching like never before. Because every time one appears, it's like striking gold. How could a single penny, something so small, so ordinary, be worth nearly $1 million? The answer is simple: rarity and demand. When a coin defies expectation, when it breaks the pattern, when it stands out as a mistake that survived the mint's strict quality control, it becomes a legend. And legends, in the world of coin collecting, are priceless. Dealers call these coins sleepers. Coins that hide in plain sight until suddenly, explosively, they're recognized for what they really are. And the 2015 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of the greatest sleepers of the modern era. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because not only did one example sell $4,833,000, rumors spread of private sales reaching even higher. Numbers whispered in hushed tones among collectors. Figures creeping closer to $1 million. And that brings us to the most important part of this story. How can you, right now, identify if you have one of these extraordinary coins? 2015. Next, look directly beneath the year. Normally, pennies minted in Philadelphia have no mint mark, while Denver and San Francisco carry theirs. But the rare, valuable 2015 examples reveal something else: subtle doubling, striking misalignments, or sharp details that set them apart. The most famous examples show errors in the lettering, especially in Liberty or In God We Trust. Look closely at the edges of the letters. If you see a shadow-like doubling, a strange thickness, or even the faintest misprint, your heart should skip a beat. Collectors were shocked to find that these minor details, often invisible to the naked eye, could elevate a coin's value from 1 cent to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most people miss it. They see a penny. They toss it aside. They let fortune slip away without ever knowing what they held. But not you. Not after hearing this story. Because now you know what to look for. Now you understand the power of rarity, the value of error, and the importance of inspecting every single coin that crosses your hand. The 2015 no mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a symbol, a reminder that life-changing treasures hide in plain sight, and that opportunity often arrives in the smallest, most ordinary disguise. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you sort through your change, when you hear that faint rattle of coins on the counter, remember this: one of them could be the key to a fortune, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple, ordinary-looking 1964 penny, the kind that slips through your fingers every day, shocked the coin world when one rare version was discovered and valued at up to $841,000. And the most shocking part? Countless people may have handled one of these fortune-changing coins without ever realizing it. Think about it. 1964 was a year of transition in America. The nation was mourning the loss of President John F. Kennedy. Change was sweeping across the country, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies. Most were ordinary, worth just 1 cent. But somewhere inside the Denver Mint, something unusual happened. Something no one expected. A minting mistake. A flaw so small, so hidden, that it turned a copper coin into a life-changing treasure. Collectors whisper about it like a secret. A handful of 1964 D pennies were struck with errors, double dies, misaligned strikes, or even the wrong planchets. These are the coins that slip past inspectors, coins that never should have existed. And yet, they found their way into pockets, into jars, into circulation, waiting for someone someday to notice. But here's where it gets truly incredible. One of these error pennies, believed to be a rare survivor of 1964 Denver production, surfaced years later. At first, it looked ordinary. The familiar wheat-brown tone, Lincoln's quiet portrait staring ahead. But under magnification, dealers noticed the details. The D mint mark slightly off, lettering that seemed doubled, tiny imperfections that revealed this was no ordinary strike. That one discovery shocked the numismatic world. But what happened next stunned everyone at a auction. What some thought was just another cent sold for an amount no one expected. A staggering price approaching $1 million. Collectors gasped. Dealers scrambled. Suddenly, every coin jar in America seemed to carry a spark of hidden fortune. Imagine the feeling. One man's pocket change became a miracle. One small penny, tossed aside by countless hands, became the ticket to a dream most people never imagine. That's the power of the 1964 D Lincoln penny. Because make no mistake, discoveries like this don't just happen once. Time and again, rare coins surface in the most ordinary places. A woman in Texas finds one in her late husband's tackle box. A young boy spots an odd-looking penny at a flea market. A collector pulls one out of a roll of change from the bank. And every time, the story spreads like wildfire through the coin world. But here's what makes the 1964 D penny so mysterious. Most of the Denver pennies struck that year were common. Billions of them. But among them, hidden in plain sight, a handful carried the mistakes. Errors that transformed them from 1 cent into a fortune. The problem? Most people never look closely enough. They never take the time to notice. And yet, those who do, those who see what others miss, are the ones who walk away with stories that make headlines. Now imagine this. You're sorting through your old coins. You spot a 1964 D penny, just sitting there, dull and brown. First, nothing special. But then you hold it under the light. The D mint mark looks slightly off. The letters in Liberty seem thicker than usual. The date, 1964, almost looks doubled. That's the thrill that keeps collectors searching. That's the reason coin dealers can't get enough of these rare errors. Because in the world of coins, every small detail can mean the difference between pocket change and life-changing money. In 1964, the mint was under pressure. Silver coins were vanishing from circulation as Americans hoarded them for their rising value. The mint was producing more pennies and nickels than ever before. Mistakes were bound to happen. And some of those mistakes turned into treasures. One story tells of a 1964 D penny with a dramatic double die obverse. Lincoln's face doubled, lettering thick and shadowed, every detail screaming rarity. Another tells of coins struck on the wrong planchet, meant for a dime or even a foreign coin, creating a one-of-a-kind error. These are the coins that, when discovered, can bring hundreds of thousands at auction. Collectors were shocked when these stories came to light, because every time one of these rare errors surfaces, it proves something powerful. History is still hiding in plain sight, and you might be holding it without even knowing. But what happened at the most recent auction left even veteran dealers speechless. A 1964 D error penny, authenticated and certified, crossed the block. Bidding was fierce. Numbers climbed higher and higher. And when the gavel finally fell, that 1 cent coin had transformed into a treasure worth nearly $841,000. A simple copper penny, almost $1 million. walking into the auction with a penny in your pocket, and walking out with the kind of money that changes lives. That's why collectors chase this dream. That's why stories like this inspire people to dig through jars, to pull out old rolls of coins, to look again at what others overlook. Many of these rare 1964 D pennies are still unaccounted for. Somewhere in America, maybe in a desk drawer, maybe in a shoebox, maybe in your own change jar. One of these coins could be sitting quietly, waiting to be discovered. If you want to identify a valuable 1964 D Lincoln penny, here's what to look for. Start with the mint mark, the tiny D below the date. Some rare versions show a repunched mint mark, where the D looks slightly doubled or misplaced. Look at the date itself. Certain double die errors make the numbers appear thicker, shadowed, or doubled. Check the lettering, especially in the word Liberty and In God We Trust. On some error coins, these letters are doubled or stretched. And always check the coin's weight. If it feels slightly off, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet, and that could mean serious money. Most importantly, don't dismiss a coin just because it looks ordinary. The world's most valuable pennies rarely announce themselves. They hide in plain sight. And that's the magic of the 1964 D penny. A coin worth 1 cent, transformed by a hidden mistake into a treasure worth nearly $1 million. A reminder that history, mystery, and fortune can all fit into the palm of your hand. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you check that old coin jar, when you finally open that dusty drawer filled with change, look closely, look carefully, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. But when collectors realized what it really was, it shocked the entire coin world. A simple 1990 penny with no mint mark, a coin most people would never look at twice, sold for more than $750,000. Imagine that, a single cent, forgotten in pocket change, transformed into a life-changing fortune. Now, here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. These rare coins are still out there. In drawers, in old jars, maybe even in the change you got at the grocery store. And the only thing standing between you and a payout worth more than most people's homes is knowing what to look for. But how could something so ordinary, so common, be worth nearly $1 million? The answer lies in one of the most mysterious minting mistakes in U.S. history. You see, back in 1990, the Philadelphia Mint was cranking out billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. The small P mint mark, which should have been there on some coins, was mysteriously missing. These so-called no-mint mark errors slipped past inspectors and entered circulation. For years, no one noticed. No one cared. After all, it was just a penny. But then, collectors stumbled upon the truth. One lucky man pulled a 1990 no-mint mark penny from circulation, sent it off for grading, and when it came back, the coin world gasped. It wasn't just rare. It was pristine, untouched, flawless, a gem. And when it hit the auction block, bidders went wild. The final price? Over $751,000. A single cent had turned into a fortune almost no one saw coming. But what happened next stunned even the most seasoned dealers. Suddenly, collectors everywhere began scouring their change, digging through boxes of coins, hoping to strike gold, or rather, copper. Every 1990 penny became a mystery waiting to be solved. Some were ordinary, worth just 1 cent. But a very few, carried the missing mint mark that meant the difference between pocket change and financial freedom. This coin hides in plain sight. To the untrained eye, it looks identical to every other 1990 penny. That's why so many people overlook it. Imagine throwing away $1 million without even realizing it. And yet, this isn't the first time the mint's tiny mistakes have created giant fortunes. History is filled with similar stories. A 1955 double die penny, worth tens of thousands. A 1943 copper penny, worth over $1 million. Each one was an accident, a small flaw that turned into a collector's dream. And now, the 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has taken its place among the legends. Would you sell it right away and change your life overnight? Or would you hold it, knowing it could become even more valuable in the years to come? That's the impossible choice collectors wrestle with every day. The excitement around this penny has become electric. Dealers are rushing to buy them. Grading services are flooded with submissions, And coin hunters are checking every cent that passes through their hands. Because the truth is, no one knows how many of these errors are still hiding out there. But there's one detail that could change everything for you. If you look closely at a 1990 penny, you'll notice something above the date. Normally, on certain years, you should see a tiny P mint mark for Philadelphia. But in this error coin, it's completely missing. Smooth, blank, as if the mint forgot to finish its own job. And that missing mark is the secret, the reason this penny isn't just worth 1 cent, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, here's where it gets truly unbelievable. Some collectors report finding these in circulation years after they were minted. Think about that. Coins lost in piggy banks, sitting in coin jars for decades, suddenly resurfacing to change someone's life forever. And with the rise in coin collecting shows, online auctions, and social media, the hunt has only gotten fiercer. But let's not forget, condition is everything. A scratched up, worn down penny might still hold value, but the record-shattering coins are the ones in pristine, uncirculated condition. Those flawless pieces, gleaming as if they just left the mint yesterday, are the true treasures, the ones that reach the seven-figure dreams. Collectors were stunned when the news broke about the $751,000 sale. But it also created a ripple effect. Suddenly, people who had ignored coin collecting for years were diving in headfirst, desperate not to miss the next million-dollar miracle. Families pulled out shoeboxes of coins from attics. Retirees who thought their old jars were worthless discovered potential gold mines. And every coin show in America buzzed with one question. But here's the twist. Even experts sometimes get it wrong. Some coins look like errors but aren't. Some have faint details that confuse even seasoned eyes. That's why knowledge is power. That's why you can't just glance. You have to study, to look deeper, to know exactly what separates a life-changing coin from a worthless one. Well, let's just say the story didn't end with one lucky collector. More of these coins have surfaced, each one stirring up bidding wars and media attention. And every time, the value climbs higher, fueled by scarcity, fueled by desire, fueled by the dream of turning a penny into a fortune. The penny in your pocket right now could be the very coin that sends shockwaves through the coin world. The only way to know is to look, to search, to never ignore what might be hiding in plain sight. It's simple, but it demands careful eyes. Pull out any 1990 Lincoln penny. Hold it under the light. Above the date where you would expect a small mint mark, there's nothing. No letter, no P, just blank space. That's the telltale sign. Don't confuse it with wear. Don't mistake a damaged coin for the real thing. The missing mint mark should look intentional, flawless, as if it were never there to begin with. That's the difference between 1 cent and a fortune worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. This coin is more than metal. It's a story, a legend, a reminder that sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest secrets. And that treasure might be sitting right under your nose. So the next time you open your wallet, the next time you dump out your change, remember this: 1 penny, 1 tiny coin from 1990, turned into $751,000. And the next one could be yours. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are still buying. And every day, the dream grows stronger. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket change forever. But instead, it shocked the world when it sold for nearly $1 million. A simple 1971 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, just a plain copper coin that most people would never even glance at. Yet today, this tiny piece of metal has transformed ordinary people into overnight legends. Think about it. Every single day, millions of pennies change hands in grocery stores, gas stations, and coffee shops. People toss them in jars, drop them in car cup holders, or even sweep them off the counter like they're worthless clutter. But what if one of those pennies was hiding a secret worth almost $1 million? That's the chilling truth behind the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like every other penny you've ever seen. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a soft copper glow. Nothing special. But appearances can deceive, and in 1971, something mysterious happened inside the U.S. Mint that gave birth to one of the rarest, most valuable error coins in American history. Collectors whisper about it like it's a legend. Some call it a fluke of history, others call it destiny. But one thing is certain. This coin has changed lives. One man discovered his in a forgotten roll of change he'd been saving for decades. Another collector pulled one from a coin jar, thinking it was nothing more than scrap. Both would later realize their humble penny was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when it crossed the auction block, dealers gasped. The bids climbed higher and higher and higher until the room fell silent. That single penny had just sold for a fortune. Why do some examples sell for pocket change, while a rare few break records that leave even veteran collectors stunned? The answer lies in a combination of minting secrets, hidden details, and condition so perfect that only a handful of coins in existence reach this level. In 1971, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia struck billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. None carried a mint mark, so at first glance, every coin looks the same. But in the chaos of mass production, a small number were struck with razor-sharp detail on flawless copper planchets, preserved by pure luck. These coins escaped circulation, somehow surviving 50 years without a scratch. Today, when they surface in pristine grades MS67, MS68, sometimes higher, they ignite bidding wars that push prices past $900,000. And here's where it gets even more shocking. To the untrained eye, these valuable pennies look no different than the dull change sitting in your wallet right now. That's why so many slip through the cracks. Collectors are still finding them in coin rolls, estate sales, and forgotten collections. One overlooked detail is all it takes to separate a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth nearly $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In a 2019 auction, a 1971 no-mint mark penny graded at an impossibly high MS68 red shattered expectations, selling for over $900,000. The room erupted in disbelief. Some collectors said they'd never seen anything like it. Dealers who had once dismissed the coin as common were suddenly scrambling to secure examples. Overnight, the 1971 penny transformed from pocket change into a golden ticket. And here's the real kicker: this isn't a one-time story. As coin grading companies like PCGS and NGC continue to certify more coins, each discovery fuels the fire. Every collector now knows the truth. This coin exists, it's real, and it could be hiding anywhere. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing. Ordinary people were left wondering if their childhood coin jars might hold the key to a life-changing fortune. Can you imagine the feeling of cashing in a penny for hundreds of thousands of dollars? That rush of disbelief. That trembling moment when you realize your life has just changed forever. But before you run to your dresser drawer, here's the crucial detail you must know. Not every 1971 penny is valuable. In fact, most are only worth face value. The treasure lies in condition and rarity. Look for flawless copper color. A blazing, bright red surface with no spots, no scratches, no wear. Even the tiniest nick can drop the value from hundreds of thousands to just a few dollars. And then there's the strike. The sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the clarity of the lettering, the crisp edges of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Every detail must be razor sharp. That perfection is what separates the common from the extraordinary. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. A penny with dull color, weak strike, or circulation where we'll never reach those astronomical prices. But a coin preserved like a time capsule, untouched for half a century, can command sums that rival the value of a house. Collectors whisper about one more thing. Rumors of rare double-die errors from 1971 have only fueled the mystique. Some pennies from this year show doubled lettering on "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," a freak accident of the minting process that magnifies their rarity. When a coin like that appears in near-perfect condition, it becomes a once-in-a-generation discovery. Think about it. A coin struck by mistake, overlooked by the mint, tossed into circulation, and then, by sheer luck, preserved long enough for someone to discover it decades later. That's not just collecting, that's destiny. And it's why the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has become one of the most talked-about treasures in numismatic history. A coin worth more than $900,000, hiding in plain sight. 1971. No mint mark beneath the date. Then look at condition, brilliant red copper, flawless surfaces, sharp details. If you see doubling in the letters or the date, set it aside immediately. That error could send its value soaring. Have it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Only then will you know if you're holding a penny worth 1 cent or a treasure that could change your life.